No one in Washington expected that Richard Nixon would live down to the caricature his enemies had sketched. He was, until 1972, a man of uncanny political resilience. The election year that summer, however, exposed a different resilience, one bent on secrecy, sabotage, and an unraveling that would reshape American faith in government. On June 17, 1972, 5 men were arrested inside the Democratic National Committee headquarters at the Watergate complex. It began as a bungled burglary, wiretaps, photographed documents, loose tradecraft, but the arrests triggered something far bigger. Investigations would reveal that the burglars were not freelance thieves, but operatives tied to the Committee to Re-elect the President, known as CRP, or CREEP. Behind them were figures like G. Gordon Liddy and E. Howard Hunt, veterans of clandestine operations with ties to the White House. At first, the White House tried to treat the incident as a local break-in. Reporters at the Washington Post, notably Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein, smelt a larger story. Their reporting followed an opaque trail of campaign money, shell companies, and protection paid to the burglars to keep them quiet. Key to their reporting and to the slow public unraveling was an anonymous informant they nicknamed Deep Throat, later revealed as Mark Felt, Associate Director of the FBI, who fed the reporters crucial confirmations and leads. The conspiracy, as investigators pieced it together, was not limited to a single burglary. It was a systematic effort by elements of Nixon's campaign and aides to spy on, sabotage, and discredit political opponents, paid for with illicit funds, covered up through fabricated explanations, and enforced by a web of threats. When several burglars were indicted and a CRP security official, James McCord, wrote a letter claiming perjury and pressure to lie, the cover-up began to crumble. The most damning evidence proved to be the tapes. President Nixon had installed a secret White House taping system that recorded conversations in the Oval Office. For months, the White House refused to turn them over. In July 1973, Alexander Butterfield testified before the Senate that such recordings existed. The discovery transformed Watergate from a scandal of break-ins and hush money into a constitutional crisis the president himself might have been involved in, or at least aware of a cover-up. The legal fight culminated in the unanimous Supreme Court decision in United States v. Nixon on July 24, 1974, which ordered the president to surrender the tapes. Among them was the so-called smoking gun tape, a June 23, 1972 recording of a conversation in which Nixon and Chief of Staff H.R. Haldeman discussed using the CIA to impede the FBI's investigation. The tape confirmed the president's role in attempting to obstruct justice. Faced with mounting evidence, the House Judiciary Committee approved articles of impeachment for obstruction of justice, abuse of power, and contempt of Congress. Rather than endure impeachment and almost certain conviction, Nixon announced his resignation on August 8, 1974. He left office the next day, the first U.S. president to do so. His successor, Gerald Ford, would pardon him months later, a decision that sparked its own controversy about accountability. Watergate's conspiracy was not only criminal, it was a breach of democratic norms. It revealed how political paranoia, the deployment of state power for partisan ends, and a culture of secrecy can corrode institutions. The revelations led to criminal convictions of top aides, reforms in campaign finance and executive accountability, and a new, more skeptical press. For the nation, the scandal was a painful reminder. Democracy's safeguards depend on scrutiny, legal checks, and an informed citizenry. Decades later, Watergate remains a touchstone for institutional integrity and presidential power. The story of the break-in that led to a president's resignation endures as a documentary lesson in how conspiracy and cover-up can metastasize, and how in a system of separations, truth can eventually prevail.